Brought to you by Knights of Awakening. This is the Labyrinth.
While I rarely ever do any kind of show that is focused on current events, as I'm not really a big current events kind of person, we've got one that is worth doing a Labyrinth episode on, and it is on the pagan groups that are now cursing this convicted rapist. He's serving 6 months in jail. He is white, he is rich, and he's getting off basically scot-free because he was able to work the justice system. I don't agree with this. Let me make this really clear that I do not agree with what the man did. And if this had been a family member of mine or someone I knew or someone who was within my line of sight well enough for me to care about them, I would be doing the curse. And we wouldn't have to worry about this. We wouldn't need 20,000 or 30,000 witches gathering in a circle. He'd be dead. Period. It wouldn't even be an issue. But this man's nothing to me. Neither is the victim, though I do feel bad for her. I feel bad for her family. And if they do wind up listening to this recording, I extend my sympathies, which is the most that I'm going to do, because this is not my fight right now. It's not something that I can prevent through this action. It's not something that's going to change anything. It's certainly not justice. What I want to hit on, though, is the nature of this. And the first thing I'm going to hit on is from the point of view of mysticism, from the point of view of mystics. This is not a bad action, not the rape, but the counter-cursing, the cursing in response, the vengeance curse there. The vengeance curses, because justice is a different thing. Justice is established through laws and systems. Justice would be a whole other kind of curse. Now, you could do a karmic debt curse on him or something of that nature, but, we're seeing disease curses, we're seeing, mutilation curses, we're seeing every kind of curse that falls under vengeance being discussed and talked about in the pagan communities. I have nothing against this if you're a sorcerer or a wizard or any other pagan mystic title, a shaman, something along that. But we got a lot of witches, and when I say witches, in this case I mean Wiccans, who are saying, well, harm none maybe, but this is justice. And therefore it's not harm. We're protecting the next person he would go after. And I've got to call severe bullshit on this. I've got to step up and say that if you're going to have a read, you're going to have a code of conduct or an idea, then you need to hold to it. And I'm going to call people out on this because sensationalism. This would not be an issue if he were one of the other 244 rapists in the U.S. right now that just got convicted. And yes, 244. The earliest statistics that I could get using the Wikipedia, all I got to do is go to the Wikipedia to get the information. For 2010, see here, placed the number of rapes at 8,400 or 84,767 yearly, divided by 365 days in a year, gives you 244.49, with a lot of repeating numbers out there, rapists per day. So that's the rape cases per day. So reported rape cases per day. So that means 244 people just got raped. Where are your curses? Where is your justice? Where is your angry mob? Why are we not throwing on massive balls of fire? It's because we don't have balls when it comes to this. And let me be really clear. I am not a nice person. I'm not a nice person. I'm a good person. I'm a kind person. And if I know you, if you're my friend, if I've talked to you more than once, hell, if I meet you on the street and you become a real person to me, meaning I've had contact with you, I've touched you, I've spoke to you, I've looked you in the eye, I might throw a curse on your behalf then. I might stand up. I might don my big red S and, my big red cape, or I may grab my round shield or whatever other superhero analogy you want for this. I might step up and step on someone on your behalf then. But as it stands, this is outside of my purview, and for anyone who thinks they're better than me, if you're Reiki 3 certified, why are you not at the orphanage? Why are you not at the hospital using your talents right now all day long in your free time? Because you aren't that nice. And if you're that upset about this, and you're going off and you're going ballistic and you think you're that nice and you think, well, I'm just a better person. That's why I'm going to throw this curse. And I understand that sometimes the reed has to be bent. You're full of it. If you're not spending the rest of your time helping people with your gifts, if you're not spending the rest of your time using your Reiki and your spell work to heal people, then you're a hypocrite. And actually, you're on the bandwagon. I'm not really big on bandwagons. I think bandwagons are why a lot of atrocities get started. The Crusades were a bandwagon. The witch trials were a bandwagon. And now we're going to repeat it because we've got enough freedom that we can. For the Wiccans that are hopping on this, shame on you. You should know better. You've been preaching against my methods and my ideals and mysticism for years and years. I've had to hear from all of you how bad and evil and terrible a man I am, because when it comes down to it, I will kill at will with magic. And I recognize that it's my own moral compunction that keeps a lot of people safe, that I've reined myself in. But that there's always that line, and it's probably not wise to just jump over it every single day to find out how nice I am, because when it comes to my family, when it comes to my friends, there is no reed that protects you. There is no creed or code that will save you. There is nothing that will harbor your safety from me. But I'm not Wiccan. I'm a sorcerer. And technically I'm a sorcerer, a shaman, if you want to get really technical. So you've got to recognize that when I look at my moral and ethical codes, it's kind of black and white for me. Cross my line, and I will knock you back over it. But for you Wiccans, you have a code that says, harm none, and do what thou will. And I am shocked how many Wiccans are jumping up to find a loophole in this, because it's sensational, because it's in the news, because that makes it right then. Because it's in the news, it must be right to take vengeance in this situation. It is in the news, after all. And therefore, it is okay. Now, to prove how sensational this is, to prove how big a deal this is, morning breakfast, I asked my family, this will be forgotten tomorrow, and here's my proof of it. Does anyone remember the name of the gorilla that got shot? Everyone kind of looks at me and they're like, well, no, I knew it last week. Like, yeah, everyone knew the name last week because it was in the news. It was in the headlines. But now that something else is, our mind forgets on it. And I even polled a group of sorcerers that I hang out with on Skype, and no one remembers the name of Harambe, the poor girl. Oh, my goodness. It was so moving. We should cast curses on someone for that gorilla's death. We should strike high holy vengeance on behalf of this gorilla. Last week. Now, this week, no one cares because now we've got a rapist to target. Next week, it'll be someone else. I'm sorry, but sensationalism and going after someone that has not done anything to you personally and breaking your creeds and your codes and then saying it's for the greater good, if you're going to do that, that's fine. But there are 244 more people you need to target today in the U.S. alone. Worldwide, that number, I don't know. I would get sick on my stomach if I do the math on that. We'll just go in the U.S. There's 244 people today that raped someone on average. Number may be a little bit lower. Hey, maybe it's only 200. Maybe it's only 150. But that's 150 people that, if you're going to bend your code and your ethics, need to die. And, from my point of view, I don't see an issue with cursing him. I have no problem with it. For those sorcerers and wizards and those people that don't have a code of conduct against it, the only issue I have is that you're not really wanting to do this against lesser targets in your own area. So I encourage you to look up your child molesters list, look up your sex offenders list. It's published online within your government archives. It is required to be published somewhere by law so that you can view it. Go through that list and start putting curses out. If you really, truly feel so strongly about this as a practitioner of the magical arts. But if you do not, and this is sensationalism, then I urge you to use that powerful mind that we in the mystical community are known for. I urge you to uphold that standard of being the superior intellect that we all aspired to when we entered this path, and really give consideration as to whether or not you want to throw curses willy-nilly. And if you do, again, look up the sex offender registry and start hitting them, you know? If you don't feel that strongly, I don't. I'm not taking the time out of my day to hit every single sex offender in the grand old state of Florida. I'm just not. I don't have the time, nor the will, nor the patience. It's not that big to me. Now, hear me out. I've had my own dealings with someone sexually harassing me or harming me when I was a child. I know what it means to go through this kind of thing. And I am not out on the warpath trying to hit every single predator because, frankly, I am a grown goddamn adult. And I know better. And I know how to spend my time more efficiently. And I don't jump on bandwagons. So if this is a bandwagon thing for you, seriously, reevaluate what you're doing. It's not worth your time. It's not worth your effort. You know, you are feeding into the masses in the same crazed hysteria that went with the Salem witch trials. And that is a pattern building exercise in the mind, and it will lead to worse patterns in your life. Now, if this person is related to you in some way, then send some kind of communication to the Knights of Awakening, or through PapaHood Sorcery, the contact form. I will be glad to give you some ideas. If this person was related to you that was raped and you are doing this on their behalf, contact me and I will give you some awesome curses you can use if you can prove that you're related. And if you have been yourself or someone you knew was affected by this and you are cursing every sexual predator and you're sitting there and you're taking the time to go through and picking the top 10 worst ones every day and putting curses, and this guy just happened to pop up on your radar, then good. I'm glad to know there are some heroes out there wielding magic. Thank you, the Doctor Stranges of the world, for what you're doing. I wish I had the moral compulsion to be one of you. But if you're not, and this is just a bandwagon, and you have no personal stake in this, and you're just like, oh boy, we have an excuse to throw curses and get away with breaking our own moral code, then please, go shove your head up your ass and do us all a favor and take a deep breath, because the shit that you're spewing is compared to the shit you need to be breathing. Open your eyes, people, and always remember to awaken the night within.